Hi, welcome to the section of cardiology. This is Dr. Jaitly. Here's an interesting subject I chose for you guys. How does oxygen carbon dioxide exchange occur and where does it occur? Remember, there are two sets of places where oxygen carbon dioxide exchange is important. One is in the lungs and the other is in the tissues where the capillaries are. Well, let's familiarize what are arteries, what are capillaries, and veins first. Okay, so arteries are blood vessels which carry blood away from the heart, and they are so stronger in their walls, and obviously the blood is a little more pulsatile in its flow because it's coming from the heart, so therefore they have to be stronger. Now, as the arteries branch out into various organs, right from brain to lungs to heart to abdominal organs, liver, spleen, intestine, stomach, kidneys, ovaries, etc., and the lower extremities. So all these organs will have capillaries in them. And so also your skeletal muscles, your upper limbs and lower limbs, etc., all the muscles, the bones, the skin, they all have capillaries. And I can give you an example of capillaries. Normally these are microscopic vessels, which does not appear to the naked eye. But under the microscope, you'll see them like small coils between the cells. So that's where the exchange is happening. And we'll come to that in a second. But let me give you an example. Hold your nail bed and try to press it. And you see how the blood disappears for a while off the nail bed when you press on the nail bed, and then just release it, it comes right back. So there are capillaries underneath that nail bed, very vascular, extremely vascular. And so as soon as you apply the pressure, the blood disappears or moves away from those capillaries. And as soon as you release even a teeny weeny pressure there, the blood returns back. The point I'm making is the capillaries are microscopic and they are present in every single tissue, and one can see that very readily in that simple test I just showed you on the nail bed. Now, from the capillaries arise the veins, and they are small little tributaries initially, but then later on they become somewhat more prominent veins, and then the major veins will bring blood back into the heart in this right schematic. So let's go over the circulation briefly first, and then we'll talk about how the exchange is occurring. So the veins are bringing blood to the heart, arteries are taking blood away from the heart. Okay, so the right side carries, as we know, deoxygenated blood. Why? Because all of the blood that's been collected by the veins, which is deoxygenated, obviously is returning back from the tissues. The oxygen has been used up. That's where it's brought back to the right atrium, either from the upper part of the body, including the brain, via the superior vena cava, or from the lower half of the body via the inferior vena cava. And that mix of venous blood, we call it, passes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle till it squeezes into the pulmonary artery and then supplies and brings it over to the lungs. Now, when it is brought to the lungs, this is a very important area, a set of capillaries where exchange happens. What happens is, now remember, this blood was very rich in carbon dioxide, right? And not rich in oxygen, because this was deoxygenated. So low O2, high CO2. That is brought to the lungs. Now, when it is brought to the lungs, that's where the exchange happens. What will happen is, because you breathe in and out constantly, and the atmosphere is rich in oxygen, we know that. So the oxygen is taken inside into the lungs, and that's where the capillaries will immediately, which are rich in carbon dioxide, will give away the carbon dioxide and take up all the oxygen that's around those lungs. Now the freshly oxygenated blood, which looks bright red, comes to the left atrium via the pulmonary veins. Now, as they are brought into the left atrium, they pass through the mitral valve, and this oxygen-rich blood is pumped through the aorta up into the brain and to the rest of the body. Now, the aorta and the left ventricle and the arteries, they all carry fresh oxygenated blood. The right side carries deoxygenated blood. The capillaries now from the arteries, as it's distributing into various organs, one sees that in the capillaries, because the tissues are metabolizing, like your heart muscle is using up all the oxygen, your liver, your spleen, they're digesting, your upper and lower body are exercising, walking, running, etc. So they're constantly using up oxygen. So what happens is the oxygen is deficient at the tissues, so they immediately take the oxygen that's coming in from the air, from the arteries and the capillaries, through the capillaries into the tissues. So the tissues receive oxygen via the capillaries and via the arterial blood. But they're constantly producing so much of CO2 in those tissues because of the exchange that's occurring within their cells. So the carbon dioxide is put back into the blood. So the exchange is very important. Oxygen, CO2 exchange here occurs, which is reverse of what occurred in the lungs. In the lungs, the CO2 is given away so that you can breathe out, and oxygen is taken up. At the tissues, the oxygen is taken up by the tissues and the carbon dioxide is given back to the blood. Now the carbon dioxide rich, so-called venous blood, again comes back to the heart, and the whole process repeats over again. Simple? Okay. So arterial, capillary, and venous in this order. Arteries carry oxygenated blood. Veins carry deoxygenated blood. That's why they've been shown in blue. Arteries have been shown in the red. And the capillary exchange, that's where in the tissues or in the lungs, the oxygen carbon dioxide is exchanged at these levels. Okay? Well, we'll make it more interesting for you as we go along. Hope you enjoyed this section. Thank you for your attention and have a great day. Bye.